Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're just going to wait for a few people just to click in. We're slightly ahead of time, or bang on time now, actually. Okay, so I can see there's a few coming in, so we'll wait for those to get started. In the meantime, what we'll be doing tonight is I will share a PowerPoint presentation as well, so you've got something to look at. We'll also have special guest Nigel Moss joining us this evening. Thankfully, he's giving up his time, his evening, to work with us tonight. And Nigel's going to do a quick Q&A with me. And if you have any questions, please do put them into the chat box, and I can ask Nigel on your behalf. He's got a fantastic story, one that still amazes me, and I've had lots and lots of students. So this is good because there's some stuff in there that I don't even know yet that Nigel may tell us, and he's just sent me a note to say that he's here. And you can all let me know that you can hear me loud and clear, please. And if I know you can hear me, then we'll switch to video. And what we'll do is I'll share my screen. This is all about cash flow from property tonight. No matter if you own property or if you don't own property. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mo. Thank you. Thanks, B. Hi. And what we're going to show you, and the people we're going to speak about tonight are mainly the people who have done this without actually owning their own properties. And we've got lots of people who actually have no credit. They don't have any money to get a mortgage. They don't have any way of getting funds and that type of thing. So we're going to talk about that tonight, because out of all the students that come to us, the majority of people don't really have a lot of money to invest in property. But this is by far the best way, and we've been through a few different strategies, but this is by far the best way to actually create some income, and a lot of income. It's up to you how far you want to go, and you'll see exactly how much you can make or how little you can make. It's up to you. Some people come to me and say, look, I just need an extra £1,000 a month. Some people come to me with lots more than that. So now that we've got quite a few on here, so we'll get started now. I'm going to put my video on so you can see me, so you can put a face to a name. And I'm now going to share my screen. And when Nigel comes on, I think he's got video as well, so you'll be able to see his face and hear him. So just excuse me while I share my screen. Okay, here we go. And please also let me know once you can see the PowerPoint that I've got up, and then we can get cracking, because we've got lots of content, and we need to get through a lot. We've got lots of value to add here, and it's oops, sorry. So let's see here. There we go. We're on. So please let me know that you can see. It should be a full screen that you can see now. Wealth and Success Academy logo, cash flow from property, Ash Anfield Property Investor Mentor, plus many other things. But enough about me. This is about you tonight, and it's a lot about Nigel helping you understand from a newbie, if you like, because Nigel's very new to this business. He did our course a year ago, come November. But has only really been operating for 6 months. So it's great. I've heard a lot about it, but it's actually interesting for me to hear a lot more now. So please let me know you can see my screen, and we'll crack on. Excellent. Okay, thank you. Good. If you can't see my screen but you can hear me, then I suggest there may be an issue with your computer. So let's crack on. Thank you. So first off, thank you for joining. We all talk about taking action, and this is the first step towards something. If the end of it is something that you still feel like you want to do, so please stay to the end, because we've got something new that we're offering this month, and it's only this month, and we're going to see how it goes. And at the moment, it's been quite successful. We're going to see how it goes whether we run it into November, December, January, and every month after there, actually, because the way we've been running things is pretty much how everyone else runs it, but what we're doing is running it differently. So please stay to the end, because there is an awesome offer, and even I think it's an awesome offer. So hopefully you do too. So who am I? I invest in property full time. It's what I do. I do rent to rent as well as developments. I work with business partners. One of the main business partners I work with, you may or may not have heard of him, is a guy called Emmanuel Ezekiel. And those who work with me and go to our courses and are mentored by me or mentored by Emmanuel as well, or both of us at the same time, know him very well. Emmanuel himself has a £50 million portfolio across mainly London, but we've just done a property that's now ready for sale in Felixstowe, where we've taken an old nursing home. It was on the market for 3 years. Quick figures, we bought it for 300,000, spent £500,000, 550, and there's a GDV about 1.8, and it's currently up for sale. We turn it into 9 flats. So that's the kind of stuff we do as well. The reason I started in rent to rent is because I had a load of buy-to-let properties that really just were giving average money back, and I was having to do other things outside of the property to actually top up the income. So then I started using other people's properties, what we call leveraging other people's properties. So that's called our OPP, other people's properties. And I also leverage other people's money, so OPM, or opium as we like to call it. And from there, I've got various properties. I have some that I have on my own, and I have quite a few that I have with students as well. I'm quite picky with the students that I pick with, but the ones that I have picked with, they've been very successful, and that means I have 2. Some of the properties that we have, just this week, actually, I paid one of my business partners, and we were averaging £3,000 profit per property. Unbelievable. Even I was like, wow, this is awesome. So I started out the hard way, as everyone does. You get thousands of no's. And the reason you get thousands of no's is because you're saying the wrong thing. So what we're all about is making sure that you understand what you should say, but most importantly, what you shouldn't be saying out there in the marketplace. There's a lot of gimmicky crap, to be honest, that they tell you to tell to people. But we've learned from experience, don't give gimmicks. Just tell them exactly what you're doing and be completely 100% honest. Because estate agents and letting agents are simply human beings as well, and they can read you as much as you can read them. So just be careful and don't feed them the crap. So I work on at least 5 deals. Probably I've been working on about 7 or 8 actually in the last 2 weeks with students, and we've got quite a few across the board. So that's quite a lot of income for them. And we also pair students up as well. So we have some people who have time and no money, and we have people who have money and no time. So we tee them up so that they can complement each other, and then you'll hear about that from a lot of that from Nigel, actually, because Nigel used very little of his own money. And I control properties as well, so we have lease options and that type of thing. But anyway, enough about me. So the main thing that we find when students come to us, and this is the reason we're talking about cash flow, is because we have students who come to us with an overload of, well, let's call it bullshit, really. Just so much information that have been flogged and told to do this. I get students who come to me who have 0 experience in property, and yet they are being told to take on properties, commercial properties, and turn them into residential. Now, that is a minefield in its own. And to do a 1-day course or a 2-day course or a 3-day course on that, no way. That's something you got to immerse yourself into. And I know even today, I'm still learning a lot, and I shy away a little bit from that. But the reason I do work with that is because my business partner, Emmanuel Ezekiel, knows it inside out. But he has 30 years experience. So information overload. And then people are saying, go and buy an HMO. And the HMO market is fairly saturated at the moment, which is really good for us because it means that we've got HMO owners who are willing to give us their property on a rent-to-rent basis at a lower price than they normally would, and then we can go out and make profits from there. So the HMO market, it's been flogged and flogged and flogged. And quite frankly, it's okay if you got the right area. It was okay if you had like an okay area, but now it's just getting so over flooded with those HMOs. And this then turns into strategy frustration. So people go out and they buy a course and they spend $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000. Some people I know have spent 15 grand on some mentorship, which is crazy, for learning how to run an HMO. And it's a piece of cake. It really is so much easier than what people try to make out. And then they say, right, I'm not really interested in HMOs. I want to go and do something else. Well, why am I not interested in HMOs? Well, I don't have the money to buy them. Okay, no problem. So what are you going to do? And then they think, I'll go and do commercial to resi, or I'll do flips, I'll do developments, and I'll go and get old bungalows. And bungalows, you have to line up, for the amount of people taking bungalows. So people get frustrated, but the thing that pisses me off is that people waste so much money on so many courses and don't do anything with it. So, and then you get overwhelmed, and I feel overwhelmed sometimes. If I go on Facebook and I read, and I'm like, man, I'm reading for 5 minutes, I think I've got to get off here. This is just it's too much. And you hear just too many stories, whether they're good stories or bad stories or whatever. So what we're going to tell you tonight, we are going to tell you a story, and it's going to come from Nigel. It's going to come from the horse's mouth, and he's going to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly of what he's had to go through, and what his plans are from here on in as well, and how he's going to get to those plans. So, and the key thing is you just don't take action. So I call them course junkies. So the benefits to you: cash flow. Cash flow is awesome, and we're talking about positive cash flow, obviously here. If you can get, if you're in a day job, and I know a lot of people who are in day jobs, and predominantly most people that I know, not everyone, but a lot of people that I know who are in day jobs, is something that they fell into, they didn't really want to do. Is because they came out of school. A lot of people I know who are in sales come out of law degree, accountancy, or whatever, and they think, I want to make some quick money. I don't want to be an article clerk or whatever it is. Sometimes I'm trying to taste the big money and that type of thing, but they don't actually like the sales jobs, and they don't like what they're doing. They don't like the boss and that type of thing. And a lot of them come to me and they say, how can I get into this? But all they're doing is they're looking for a quick buck, but they're not actually looking to put in the hard yards. And you will have to put in some hard yards if you want to make a lot of money. But I can tell you this, you'll do less hours than what you do in your day job for the same money, by far. So we use other people's properties. You can use your own property if you like, if you have your own properties. And if you are cash rich and you're ready to go out and purchase properties, you can do that. But there's a certain type of property that you need to purchase, whether you're going for HMOs or service accommodation, etc., or there's a third way if you're going to look at micro flats, which are around about the 30 square meters or so, and these are the type of things that are unmortgageable, but we show you a way where we can sell them off and make them cash rich for you, but also much higher than the HMO value would give you. So when we're using other people's properties, this is commonly known as rent to rent. So you're taking a property that you're going to rent, and then you're not actually going to live in it. You're going to put other people in it. Now, with an HMO, we prefer a minimum of a 4-bed property you can turn into 5. We like to go up to 6 if it's over 2 levels. The reason for that is because we don't have to worry about licensing. There is Article 4 that comes into that, all the rules and regulations, which we go through on our courses. And then there's service accommodation. And service accommodation, probably the 4-bed property is kind of the in-between. So we don't really like that, but we like it for the HMO. And the good thing is that if you know both strategies in your area, you can, and we've got people who have mixed strategies with HMO and service accommodation. It means that under the one umbrella strategy of rent to rent, you can run HMOs and service accommodation, and you can have separate people once you build it up, manage each portfolio, which is exactly what I do. So I myself don't have time to run HMOs or service accommodation. I have other people who do them. Yes, I started off running them because you need to know how to run them, and then you can teach other people how to do that. And I've got fantastic people who manage them, and they get paid handsomely, believe me. So if you don't have your own money, like we said, you can use other people's money, or as we call it, OPIUM, O-P, other people's, I-U-M, other people's money. And there are various ways of And obviously you've got FCA rules, the Financial Conduct Authority rules that you have to abide by for certain levels. In most cases, we don't actually hit those levels when we're looking at rent to rent anyway. But with that said, I do advise that if you do start to take money and use other people's money, you must have some heads of terms in place. So we have a solicitor on our group, and his name is Nino, and he also has a rent-to-rent portfolio, so he understands it completely. He's also written some of our contracts as well that we use, and we also hand to you. But using other people's money, so Nigel again will talk about that. I use other people's money all the time because you need other money to leverage. If you've got 100 grand in the bank and you can use 10 other people's money and they all club together, it means you're going to make a lot more money if you like. So joint venture partners, JVs as they're commonly known. We actually put a lot of people together who've done our courses, and there are particular people who I mentor, and I will always put those forward. Not all of them are stars. Okay, so let's be completely honest about that. But the ones that I know who are very passionate and they're successful and they're going to be successful, I know that these guys truly have it in their blood or in their mindset to actually go out and make success of this. I will put them in touch with people who I know want to basically throw money at service accommodation or rent-to-rent HMOs, but they don't want to work in it themselves. I get at least probably 10 or 12 messages a week myself asking if I have any students in particular areas who they can help fund. So there's plenty of funding available as well. But we do make sure that we put everything through heads of terms. So it's a super quick setup. Nigel again will talk about his business. There's very few businesses, and my wife has got children's nursery. She's just taken on a second. And it takes a couple of years for you actually to realize a profit. In some businesses, it can take 3 years because there's so many overheads, so many startup costs, and then you've got staff that you need to run the pay all the way through, and staff is a massive chunk of that. The good thing is with our business, is whether the HMOs or service accommodation, is that yes, you will need staff at a certain level, but it's minimal because everything can be automated online. So I will do a lot of the work online and run the business remotely, and then they will take care of the face-to-face business if and when it's needed. So that means that I can choose an area that I really like, and I know where the super profitable areas are. I will choose those areas, and I will work with people who live in those areas. So you've got that choice, and you've got that freedom as well, if you like. But the setup is very quick. I mean, you can get an apartment or get a property set up within 2 weeks, ready to go and bring in. It's fast turnover. So your turnover will come in pretty much straight away as soon as you fill those properties. Service accommodation, as soon as you get a booking, you get it come in. And your profit is obviously the difference between your cost, your turnover, your costs, etc. So in service accommodation, you should expect to make anywhere between 30 and 40% profit before tax. If you're not, you're in the wrong area and you've got the wrong property. Obviously, this is something that we go through in much detail. So here he is. Here's Nigel. He may not like his picture, but we're going to bring Nigel now into the mix. Now, for me, I think that's a fantastic photo. It's Nigel and his wife celebrating their anniversary, I believe, overseas. And you get his photo. I think it's fantastic. I nicked it off his Facebook page. But live, laugh, and love. Now, the headline figures here: £400,000 turnover in 6 months. And over 12 months, he's managed to acquire 25 properties for service accommodation. Now, I'm just going to end the slideshow for a minute, and I'm going to make sure I can go through to speak to Nigel. So let's stop sharing a second, and so we can get Nigel in. Hey there, Nigel. Here we go. Nigel has joined the room. So we should be able to hear him very soon. Okay. Are you there, Nigel? We just wait for it to come through. Sometimes there's like a 20-second delay. And Nigel, just send your request through again and then we'll redo it. That's it. Well done. So yeah, as I was saying, just waiting for Nigel to come in. Here we go. That was the figures that he gave me 2 weeks ago, actually. So the £400,000 turnover figure has probably grown from there. Now, I didn't want to put the profits in that he's making because I know that he's had different stuff that's come in. So Nigel will be able to tell us all the profits. And sorry, just getting him in there. So Nigel will be able to tell us the profits. Nigel's in the room now. So Nigel, I can see that you're in the room, but I can't hear you. So if we can't, there is a backup plan. We did test this the other day. So what I will do is, Nigel, I'll call you and put you on speaker. Okay, so here we go. We'll see if we can get Nigel on speaker. All right. Okay, so while we're waiting for Nigel to come through, we'll just run through some other slides here. He just pinged me to say that he's coming through. And I'll just share my screen again. And we'll make sure we keep going because, like I said, we've got a lot to go through. So here we go. Okay, so there's Nigel. So massive amounts of properties in the time that he's done it. I know that it's he started in April or May. He first went live with his properties, and he'll be able to tell us the rest as he come on. So here's another student of mine called Tim Dix. Now, Tim is actually a helicopter pilot, and he also has another business that he runs, mechanical business. But this business has now been so profitable, and that's me and Tim there, and we're at the hangar. And he took me over to France on the when was it? Last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And there were 6 of us went over there and we had an awesome time. So this is now Tim's full-time business. It's been going 6 months. It's probably a little bit less than that, but I rounded it up. And he's now clearing $7,500 per month in profit. And he's got 5 service accommodation properties. And again, it is in an awesome area. We do reveal the areas actually on the class, but not here. These 2 guys, Cam and Sam, they even got their own van, etc. This isn't my place. They came for a one-to-one. Over $9,000 profit in 5 months. They've got 7 SA properties. They've now just negotiated a block of 4 apartments too in their area, so it's going to take them up to 11. Again, Sam and Cam very experienced in business. They have motorbike business and that type of stuff. And again, they're saying this is the setup and the most profitable in short time. So awesome stuff. That's Harvey Singh. Again, another one-to-one that we had. Now, it looks like Harvey hasn't done a lot in 8 months, but basically Harvey stopped acquiring properties about 3 or 4 months ago because Harvey is moving to Australia in November. His cousin is going to take over these properties. We've trained her up, and then they're going to start acquiring. So he basically has $5,500 a month, $5,000, $5,500 a month, up to 6. each and every month that he can now go to Australia and he can have that as his passive income because somebody else is going to be managing it. He's also going to fund the additional properties, and his cousin, the manager, will get an additional percentage from there. So it's a win-win situation. Now this is Jazz Reel on my left, and then on the other side with the big watch there is Jimmy London. Now I've rounded it down, but I think it's about 44 or 45 grand a month profit that Jimmy is now making in profit. Now come December, it'll be 2 years. We started, so he's probably about 2 or 3 months short of his actual 2-year mark, and he has 29 rent-to-rent HMO properties. These are all rent-to-rent. He doesn't own a single one. And Jimmy's experience before this, no experience in property whatsoever, and he was working in, he had pubs and clubs that he owned, and now he's obviously full-time property. He's just looking at taking on a 15-room apart hotel, so that will add 15 units to his 29, and he already has another one that he's sealed as well, which pulls in 15 grand a month itself, an SA property which is about to go live. So awesome stuff, and I'm not sure on the numbers that Nigel's going to give us when he comes on, but it won't be far off. That's Napa in the middle. We have dinners every now and then, rent-to-rent dinners, where we get everyone together. That's on his left is Emmanuel Ezekiel, my business partner, and he pulls in about £6,000 per month in profit. He's also gone and done other things, set up other businesses doing that, so he's not full-time doing this. He's probably about 60% doing this. But when Napa came to me, he was then, within 2 weeks, he lost his job, and then he was made homeless. So you can see the smile on his face. He's doing all right. Napa's quite well known around the circuits now as well. This is Jack Wicks. He's on about £11,000 per month in profit in 2 years. To be fair, Jack started off in the first year. He was a bit slow, a bit of a slow adapter. And from there, he's now got 14 mixed properties. There's service accommodation, and he's got HMOs, and he's now adding about another block of 6 or 7 to that. So hats off. And he got married halfway through, and he's been able to pay for his wedding. This is Anna Olsen. She's on about £8,000 a month in profit. This is the only photo I could find of her where she wasn't sort of posing or anything like that. No, I'm only joking, Anna. She has 8 mixed properties in London. And that photo is taken with myself and Neville Wright. Neville Wright is a good friend of ours. Neville Wright, for those who don't know, is the founder of Kiddie Care, which he sold to Morrison's for £70 million cash. He now does a lot of property, and he's worth around a net 100 million. But he's the nicest guy. You wouldn't know that he had £1 million, let alone 100 million. He's very good with his time. This is one of the talks that he gave our advanced mastermind group. And this is a guy who is dyslexic, and he also has ADD, etc. So he's quite humorous to watch him. But anyway, it's more about Anna there. So Anna's done really well. Well done, Anna. So what makes them successful? Skills or attributes? Well, the skill, I guess, the strategy that we teach you is the skill that you need. Yes, when you negotiate, there's going to be a certain skill that you learn a way to negotiate. But the majority of things come down to attributes. You know, are you driven? What's your mindset, etc., etc., etc. So most things come around from your attributes. So it's good to know that you don't have to learn a whole lot to be able to get. Nigel has just messaged me to say that he's back. So let's see. Back on. So a bit close to the screen there. See every little wobble in my face. So here we go. Good timing, Nigel. So Nigel just says, I'm back. I had a few tech issues. So give it 10 seconds and he'll be on. Jan, I think has asked, is any women achieved? Well, yes, we do have lots of women achieved. There's another lady called Nabila who is working in London. She's on about £4,000 a month, but she's doing it while she also has a full-time job. You've obviously heard from Anna. We have Ela Hira, who works in London area as well. She has 4 rent-to-rents now. She also works full-time. Anna Olsen was working full-time in Citibank. And here we go. Here's Nigel. Hey, Nigel, hello. Let's see if we can hear Nigel. There he is.
We're having some technical difficulties here.
Yeah, well, you're in service accommodation, not IT. How are you, buddy?
All right, thanks. Yourself?
Good, very good. Thanks for doing this, mate. And
no problem.
Right. We got through the other slides, so we're there.
That's the main thing.
Good, right. So, obviously, I've kind of introduced you to everyone, but if you can just give us a warts and all, the whole lot. Don't hold back. I want you to be completely honest. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly, the fantastic, and tell us the shit bits as well.
Okay.
So tell us from day one when you hit the course. Well, we met before that, but away you go. You got about 10 minutes max, I reckon. And people who have questions, please hit them into the chat box, and then I'll file them away. So off you go. The floor is yours.
No problem. Well, good evening, everybody. Hope you're all well. Sorry about the technical difficulties on my end. But I know my business partner, Ian Taylor, is on the line somewhere listening to this as well. So I'll bring him into the conversation. But
he is actually. He's on. I can see he's on. Hello,
yeah, he messaged me earlier, so I know he's about. So
yes.
I actually did your course back of it was 2016 November. So that was the back end of November. From leaving the course, I sort of went out there, you know, fully motivated, ready to get some properties on board. Within the space of about 2 weeks, I'd committed to 25 properties. So yes, you heard me right, 25 properties. I'm a glutton for punishment, and I think
I heard committed.
Yeah, I need committed, I think. But Ian was getting more grey hairs by the week as I was ringing him up and saying, "Yeah, I've just taken on another 3, and I've just taken on this, and we're committed to that." But it was a bit of a whirlwind, bit of a ride. So. That was right through to the end of December, really, and then the idea were the properties would filter on throughout the early part of 2017. So there was a few issues along the way in terms of the. Well, I'll break it down. We've got 10 properties in Reading in Berkshire. A lot of those located around the sort of main train station in the central part. So that was done to attract business customers effectively, and we do get a bit of tourism coming in there as well, surprisingly enough. And then the other main one that we went for was we got a block of 15, which was a commercial to resi development that was in a business park in Stratford-upon-Avon. Now, my history was that I'd actually lived and worked in Stratford-upon-Avon for about 3 years, some years previous. So I knew that it was full of tourism, Shakespeare country. It was always going to be a place that worked. So there was no sort of
international tourism. It's an international tourist attraction.
Lots of Chinese, Japanese.
Yeah, it's a big fat tip for people out there.
Yeah. So if you get the right place in the right location, I mean, you know, it does become the gold mine area, literally. And so we committed to the 15 that were. It was an old office block converted into 15 brand new apartments, and we've taken the whole lot for a 3-year period. So it was a big commitment for us. Obviously, fresh into serviced accommodation and still learning as we went. But from our point of view, it was a no-brainer to some degree because of the location where it was. So problems and headaches along the way. The Reading ones went fairly well. They sort of phased in throughout from the beginning of March onwards. Some were furnished, some were unfurnished, and we just had to get those sorted out with Fusion Furniture and so on. Stratford, however, was a bigger problem because it was a brand new development. When we came originally to do what was supposed to be a snagging list, after spending the best part of 4 hours on the ground floor alone, and we've got 3 stories here, the agent and myself, Ian, and my son that was along at the time basically gave up because we'd spent 4 hours trying to snag about 3 or 4 rooms effectively. So it was more a case of the QS needs to come back in here, redo the job properly, redo all the faults and issues, and then we'll come back in and snag further down the line. So
here, these are not your properties. These are properties that you're taking on from a developer who's done a commercial to resi development.
Exactly, and we've all the ones we've got so far, we've done through agents. We're not direct to landlord on anyone. It's all through agents as such. So there was long sort of negotiations that myself and Ian were having with the agent, who was then going back off to do that with the developer, and so back to back in it there. I mean, there was at one stage we were told we were going to get a wooden door for the front door. We bought locks accordingly, which were going to be coded locks. Then they turned out and put a completely different door in. So lots and lots of headaches along the way. We've got you to see the place. You've got access from two sides on this business part where we are. So there's an Arden Street entrance and a Birmingham Road entrance, and the top entrance has a roller shutter on the main sort of archway that's worked by code. That in fact has never actually worked since we took the place on. It's all broken, and the bottom gates going out onto the Birmingham Road is another issue because they decided that they were suddenly going to lock those up after hours, which from our point of view was a major nightmare, because straight out the Birmingham Road gates and turn right and you're literally 3 minutes to Shakespeare's birthplace. So it really became an issue for us if we were having to add sort of 5 minutes walk on to our guests that have to go out the top then and walk around the roadway. And that's still an ongoing issue, in fact, to this day, but we don't sell it to the guests on that basis. So it's not really made too much of a problem as far as we're concerned.
Still within the 10 minutes.
With all the snagging and all the delays that we had, we had to push back and push back and push back to a point where myself and Ian, we actually had a conversation with the agent to say, look, we need to surrender all of our the agreements that we've got with yourself and redo them because we've wasted so much time and we're not about to start paying for a property we can't habit, basically. So that was sort of an ongoing issue. But when we finally got all the snagging done and everything was sorted, we got it all furnished. Again, 15 rooms to furnish. So we actually sort of worked with Fusion and got them involved to come down and sort of spec up what we wanted and what we needed, because each room was different. We've got a combination of 1 studio apartment, 6 2-bedroom apartments and 8 1-bedrooms. So we've got a bit of a mix here, but we had to get the furniture in the right mix because they're not the biggest of places, but again, location-wise, it works.
Good.
So Fusion came in. There was £45,000 then for furniture that we had to sort of raise. So it got to a point where we knew we were going to need cash quite quickly. Now, Ian had put some of his own personal cash in. I put some of my own personal cash in. But we needed a substantial fee to go into the pot to sort of cover what we were needing to do on first month's rent, etc., etc. So Ian introduced us to another guy that was a friend of his, somebody known for many years. And this chap agreed to basically put £50,000 into the pot for us on a short-term loan. So we agreed this over a 7-month period, I think it was. So and that was basically on a 1% payment back per month on interest. So he was getting a good deal, making his money work for him, and it would get us up and running from the start.
So, mate, you broke up there a bit.
So where did we get to? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep. You sound a bit like a robot. That's all right. You're back.
I'm back. I sound like this all the time. So we had the 50K from this guy, and we utilised that to sort of get everything sorted that we needed to get. And it wasn't until about the 16th of April that we actually got the place up and running, which was actually coincided with the Easter Bank holiday weekend. So we'd have liked to have got it up and running before then, because that's the prime point for tourism that date. But, we went live at that particular time. As soon as we went live, bookings started to flood in. They were coming in thick and fast from day one.
What month did you go live?
We started phasing some of the Reading ones in across from the 1st of March onwards, but it wasn't until the 16th of April, 17th of April, something like that we went in Stratford. So from that point, we were live on all of them, which is literally 6 months ago. We've been live with everything. In that 6 months, we've taken very close to £400,000 worth of bookings, and that's I think that's over 1,300 bookings per se. So it's not a bad batting average, as they say.
Wow, 1,300 bookings.
Yeah, and they say the key number is 400,000. Yeah. 400,000 in active turnover.
So, out of interest, the loan that you got, the 50,000, is that now paid back yet, or is that ongoing?
That's paid back. We basically paid 25k back to him plus interest throughout the June period. Wow. And we paid the other £25,000 and interest back in September, just gone. So we're now debt-free after 6 months of running.
So that goes to show how much profit you guys are making on the 400 as well, to be able to pay back 50 grand plus interest.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So working very well for us.
I know you're a bit cagey with your numbers, but are you, once that's paid back, are you within the 30 or the 40% profit region?
I would say we're going to be between the two. I haven't run the numbers properly because obviously we've just paid that back and we're still looking at things going forward. But I would say we're certainly above the 30 mark.
Fantastic.
Probably closer to 30.
Yeah, excellent. That's awesome business. And it's taken you, I mean, from a year from taking action.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, some people are saying here, you know, somebody said some action that is, and like, wow, have you got big? I was in. And
it's been a few times.
Yeah. But what experience did you have in property before you started then? And
effectively zero.
Yeah.
I started looking at property. I mean, I've got a history of running businesses for the last 15 years, but nothing to do with property related. I did my first property course back in 2016 at the beginning of the year, which is where I met yourself. Then I did your rent to rent course in, I think, June, July of that year, and the serviced accommodation course in the November of that year. And that was the sum total of my knowledge in property.
Awesome. And now people are asking you all the time, how do I do this? How do I do that?
Yeah, well, we're getting people coming to us. So, and the thing is now, I mean, again, because people know we've paid back the loan and we've done well on that side of things, we're actually getting people now talking to us about wanting to invest in other things that we're doing ongoing.
Absolutely.
People are coming to us.
And that's a bit of a tip to everyone. If you have investors, make sure you pay them back first before you start paying yourself. And they will come in swarms coming back to you because they know they're going to make some money from you. So we've got some questions here. Okay. So somebody said, Ashley mentioned your next plan. So what's up next?
Right. Well, as it stands at the moment, in the business that we've got, Urban Chills, there's myself, Ian, and my son James, who does all the technical background stuff. But we've just teamed up with another one of your mentees, which is Ben Watson.
Yeah.
We got together basically because of a conversation that myself and Ben had. He's got an investor that wants him to go out and locate properties on their behalf that they'll buy and hold that we can then run as serviced accommodation. This particular investor has got a pot of up to, are you sitting down for this? Up to £5 million.
Yeah, I know.
So I just basically made a joke with him over the phone and said, look, that's far too much for one person to handle. So we must do something together on this. And he said, well, being greedy as I am, you know, so, but he was keen for the idea. And so we sat down, had a conversation. So all the four of us, so the three people involved in Urban Chills and Ben, and we've now formed another company, which we're all shareholders in, which we're going to sort of drive forward and do more serviced accommodation. So we're going to be looking for properties with that sort of funding to be able to go out there and grow as a bigger business. Now, our goal is to effectively have serviced accommodation in all of the major cities in the UK.
Roughly how many units, properties would that be?
That's a good question. I mean, it depends on what we're taking on in each area. I mean, currently we're looking at above, well, it's 41 properties we're looking at taking on as a complete apartment block in the Midlands.
So that will be
we're in negotiation. Sorry, say that again.
That will be an apart hotel.
Yeah, that will be an apart hotel because if we can get all of them, we've got the whole block to ourselves. We've got an entranceway in there which we can make. We can put as sort of effectively a 24/7 concierge service in there. Keep pick up and collect point. So it becomes a sort of no-brainer again from that that point going forward. Awesome. We've had conversations with other people that are effectively sources within the industry. So they're now coming to me on Facebook and saying, well, actually, we've got a block here, which is 79 apartments. We've got a block here, which is 50 apartments. We've got another 200 here, but they won't all be SA. Are you interested? I mean, we could grow very rapidly in a short space of time. So if you think the rapid growth now is wow, then watch out for the next 6 months.
Oh yeah, no. So there's lots of questions here. People are saying what type of properties or locations don't work as SA. I guess everything else that apart from what does work for us. So without being flippant or trying to sound arrogant, there is a criteria that we run through and that we must stick to. If you divert off the tracks a little bit, it will be to your detriment 100%. So Nigel has spoken about an international tourism spot, also a national business centre such as Reading, Thames Valley, those type of thing, which is their UK Silicon Valley, right? So you need to have a good mix of the two if you can, because
I think I might have lost you again, Ash.
In my areas that I work, where
you're breaking up a lot on me, Ash. I don't know if it's my end or your
end. What type of property location? If you can answer that.
I missed that because you were breaking up a lot. So what was the question? Sorry.
What property and location do you look for?
We are targeting sort of business districts, and we're also targeting sort of good tourism places. Again, it's horses for courses. So if you can target certain places and they won't work for one or the other. So you've got to cut your cloth accordingly. So do your homework, do your due diligence, know your marketplace, and know exactly what the people in that area want. I'm not sure whether you're getting me or whether I've lost it again.
You're welcome to stay on the line, but other than that, thank you.
No problem. I'll stay on the line and keep with you.
Okay, thanks, mate. I will eject you as presenter. So
yeah,
if I happen to eject you,
let me know.
I will do. Yeah, there's a few I'll read out.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks, Nigel.
No problem at all.